Hey everyone, Sean Clement here, and today we are redoing a wonderful video that's really helped a lot of my students this summer, and it's the battering ram, and it really helps a lot of key concepts on how the arms swing versus how the body turns out of the way of this arm swing. And it really puts to rest so many myths about how the arms, or do the arms follow the shoulders, or all those questions that so many people have. So just to put the record straight, it's the arms that swing and the body turns. How does that work? Now imagine this hockey stick is a battering ram. So I'm just going to hold the stick with my arms shoulder width apart. So you notice how the stick, my shoulders, and my arms form a rectangle. And imagine I'm going to take this and I'm going to drive it through a door. Now, if I were to do just a simple rotation this way, I wouldn't be driving any force through the door. I'd just be basically scratching the door. So a battering ram is very, very much linear in its force, okay? So I got my battering ram and I want to drive it toward the camera. Notice my arms are swinging towards you, but yet my body is turning out of the way. So you notice how both arms stay nice and straight. There's no collapse in the arms. If I don't turn my body, well, notice how the left arm has no place to go and it collapses. And therefore, there goes the right arm collapsing as well. So this whole unit disintegrates. Notice when I allow my body to turn, the whole unit is allowed to remain intact. So I'm taking the weight of this arm ram unit and I'm driving it through the door frame. So notice on this side, my arms are still intact as well. If I don't allow the body to continue, then notice my right arm collapses and then I get that beautiful chicken wing. See, chicken wing is not a defect. It happens when the body quits turning. Why does the body quit turning? I'm going to get to that in a second. So I'm using the weight of this arm hammer unit, right? Battering ram unit. Notice I'm going towards you. This allows the ram to drive right through the door. That gives me a nice force in the direction of my target. So what does that battering ram look like in the golf swing? Well, let's look. So we have, instead of just one pendulum in the battering ram, we're moving around this pendulum point here, which is the center point of my arm swing. If I only had one arm, that pendulum point would be represented by my shoulder. I bring both arms together to take my grip. The center point of that is my sternal notch. So now I take my golf club, and you'll notice that the second pendulum point is my wrist unit. So notice there's a nice rotational pendulum here where my wrists are. So the wrists form one pendulum point, and this second pendulum point is where the two clavicles join the rib cage, my sternal notch. So now, in my takeaway, my pendulum point is here. Then at one point, my right arm has to fold. So the right arm folds, my wrists hinge. I've activated the second pendulum point. Well, for me to generate some really solid force through the ball and get lag, if I let the weight of my arms fall, the arms fall first. So notice the club head is still being pulled toward the target. The arms pull down first, and then the second pendulum point releases. Now the club head is pulling down around that second pendulum point. So it's pendulum number one, then fold and hinge. Pendulum number two engages. Pendulum number one unwinds. Pendulum number two unwinds. So you notice the pendulum number two unwinds fully out here. Then rehinges. Pendulum number one. Pendulum number two. Notice it releases and rehinges. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So you see how everything releases in both directions. So if I had a sword and I was slashing through a bamboo shoot, so everything comes through blade first, then the tip of the blade, then the release. Now I can go that way. Pendulum 1, or pendulum 1, pendulum 2. Here comes the blade, slashes through, release. Release. So I would never unwind pendulum number 2 first. I'm going to slash myself. Same thing here. I would never unwind that first. Everything slows down. Now I've released everything, and now when I come through, I'm actually going to miss the ball entirely. So everything has to unwind according to its own natural, release. So backswing, 1, fold, hinge, 2. So it's just like, imagine the butt end of the club as the battering ram. So I'm ramming this through the door. Boom. See that? Notice how my whole body is in the process of clearing to get that through the door. Then pendulum number 2 gets released by the club head. So all I have to do is let the arm unit bring the head of the ram through the door, and the club head will just release right through on its own. So I'm using the weight of this double pendulum unit to release through the shot. And that's about as good as I can strike a golf ball. So we got total distance here. I got 176 carry for a 7-iron, 183 total. Soft little draw. There's my launch angle of about 16 degrees, 15.5. And there's that gorgeous flight that is about a yard off my center line. So when everything is done properly and it just releases on its own, see, that felt like there was no control on my behalf. I was simply using the weight of the arm club unit, and I'm allowing the weight to release itself through the door frame. So I've already set up to the door frame, my golf ball, and I'm feeling that when I let it fall, it wants to fall through the door frame on its own. So notice where my hands are. And from here, most of you will feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to miss the ball. And then look at that. Beautiful collection there. See how open that is? And then the ball comes off the club face right about here. So, and that's slightly closed to the target line that I've got because I got the ball slightly back in my stance. And that's why you see that lovely little draw. So in accordance to the path at the moment of impact, that club face is actually slightly closed as the ball is releasing from it. And that's what gives me my draw. Okay? So you are letting the weight of the arm club unit release itself. And this is what's helped so many students, because they get to the top of the backswing and they feel the need to control that club head, and they're, like the hands are a natural extension of your nerve endings, and they're wrapped around the club, and they're trying to get the club to meet the ball. Well, that's going to completely sabotage that chain of events, that natural pendulum unwinding. So if I do that, I'm actually slowing the club down substantially. If I let it fall, notice the body is going to get out of the way so that my arms can fall through the door frame. So I'm getting this to fall through the door frame. Notice how the brain's going to go get the ground, use the ground to get my body out of the way, and everything's unwinding beautifully. And from here, I'm just a witness to gravity releasing through the shot. So I feel the weight of my ram, and I allow the weight of the ram to release itself through the shot. Not bad. Right side of the green, another 185 yard 7-iron, 174 carry. And these feel very, very much effortless. They feel very powerful, very compressive because I'm using some good mass, but they feel very, very easy to reproduce because I'm not using force. I'm using heft combined with my natural kinematic sequence, or my kinetic chain, which we all have in spades. So use the battering ram. So take the club in your hands this way. Let the arm club unit hang from the shoulders and really feel that you're using the weight of the arms to bash through the door. Now, backswing. Notice how everything's hinged. Let it fall through. So notice how the club is going right through the door frame, then the club releases through the door frame and then pulls me into my finish. So I'm allowing the weight of the arm club unit to release me. So I hope you enjoyed that. Stay tuned for our next video where we're going to talk about how, de-lofting the club to give you penetrating trajectory is done through proper tilt of the spine. Proper tilt of the spine is going to give you a deeper lag. Deeper lag equals better angle of attack. See you in the next one. All the best.